this is Michelle Sizemore with Creative Memories and Forever. I'm going to show you how to make these quilt cards, and they're really easy to make using, this one uses our Fresh Fusion Bold paper collection and the Holly Jolly card kit, which comes in this box. And this one uses the Magic Awaits paper. The yellow and the red comes from Magic Awaits. This comes from Festive Fourth. This comes from the Tis the Sea Sun, and this one comes from the Cheerful Fresh Fusion collection. So I mixed up a lot of papers to get those colors, but I liked the color combination. I'm gonna show you how to make this one first. Now you want to start, your base should be a piece of cardstock that is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. So I'm going to measure that out on the tape runner and cut it. I mean on the trimmer and cut it. Sorry, it's getting late. I have white cardstock here, and I'm going to measure to, I'm going to pull my guide out, and I'm going to measure to 5 1/4. And then I'm going to measure to, flip it and measure to 4. I'm going to go ahead and cut a couple of those, and I'll just stash this extra piece away. I'm going to measure 5 1/4, just lining it up right here to the 5 1/4 mark. I love the guides on here. They're really easy to see. And flip it and line it up with the 4. And now I have 2 pieces of cardstock that are 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to set this aside for a bit. And actually, I don't know why I just set that aside, because I need it. Sorry about that. All right. Now, these squares are 1 1/4. Each one is a square that's 1 1/4 by 1 1/4. So I'm going to measure that out on here. I'm going to, what I'm going to do is measure it right here on this side. I could choose which way to go, but I'm going to go this way. I think that's easier. Line it up with the 1 1/4 mark. Make sure it's straight here, straight all the way down, and cut. And I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of these pieces. Just get a 1 1/4 inch wide strip. That one's too thin. I didn't look at that very well. Let's do this again. 1 1/4. Okay. There we go. That's better. Okay, and then this purple. And this gold dot. Got a pencil mark on it. 1 1/4. Okay. Now I'm going to try this because I think I can cut all the way through all these at one time just to make it quicker. I want a bunch of 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 squares. So I'm just going to measure these, and I think I can cut through 4 pieces of paper pretty well. Not cardstock. I wouldn't if it was cardstock. Yeah. So that saves a lot of time. You just have to kind of keep them together. And I would just cut all the way down. And then if I cut extras, I save them and use them later because I use a lot of squares. All right, you get the idea. I would just keep cutting and probably cut that whole thing out of squares. I'm going to set all these papers aside. Okay, the next thing I would do is take my 4 by 5 1/4 card. Now I'm going to put this on a piece of cardboard so you can see it better. It's kind of hard to see when it's on a white table. Okay. And then all I'm going to do is mount these at an angle. And I'm just going to look at this to see how I got my colors. And I'm just going to start a pattern here. I'm going to start by lining this up at the bottom. There's no perfect way to do it. It's just going to look how the quilt look. But I'm going to line that up at the bottom and that up at the corner. Okay. And then the next one will be this color. Put a little bit of tape runner On the back end, I like to use the repositionable tape runner so that I can lift it up and move it, because I do have to reposition these a good bit, I find. Then I'm going to do purple. You just want to dab it at every corner. Okay. And that's all 3 colors. That's as far as I can go with going that way. And then I'm just going to make my next row, and I'm going to follow this pattern of colors that I chose to do because I liked it. Love the jewel tones in this kit. And I will say that this is on While Supplies Last. I'm going to take this off so I can see what I did under there. Very carefully. It left a mark, but it's okay because I'm going to put this right back on there. Okay, then I'm going to go green here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take these off because I think what I did, sorry, I'm just going to go like this, where I follow along with the pattern instead of skipping. I'm going to put this here. This here. And then I would fit in here a color. And obviously the whole square is not going to fit, but I'm just going to let it hang off. I'm going to make sure you cover up any of the white. You may have to find that you have to move them around a little bit to cover up the white because you don't want that to show. And it's supposed to look like a patchwork quilt, so it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, it's okay if they overlap a little. It's no big deal. And then I'm going to add some red here. And I don't like that you can see white in between there, so I'm going to cover that up a little bit. Just move it. And this is why you use the repositionable tape runner, because it's easy to pick up and move things. And I'm going to do a couple more. And you get the idea. You just keep putting these on here until you get them like you like them. Now, if you already watched the video that I did where I showed how to make the streamers, I told you to save your triangles from your streamers. And the reason is you can make a card with those, just so you won't throw away your scraps, because you can make your own squares. So if you were going to make a card with these colors, you can mount your triangles, but turn them into squares. So you could do this, and then just add your other piece like this. So if you're working with something small and you don't want to waste your triangles, this is a good way to use them. And then this. So if you had kept your scraps from making the streamers, this is what I wanted you to save them for. So by the time you do that, you can't even hardly tell that they're not squares. And it doesn't matter because a lot of quilts are triangle quilts anyway. So you can get the same look, but with triangles. Now I would obviously fill this whole thing up with the pattern. And then I'm going to flip it over and take my scissors. Now for this, I would use these bigger scissors, and I'm just going to cut it off from the back. Oops, and see, that wasn't mounted very well. So I'm going to put it back down with some more tape runner. And cut it off. Okay, and so that's what I would do all the way around, and then that's how you get the look of that card. And then I took these embellishments from this Holly Jolly kit because I thought they were cute, and mounted them here. And so at that point, I just have this on a 4 inch by 5 1/4 inch card. So this is what I ended up with. Now, if I'm just making cards, and they're not going to go in my photo album, I'll often use these inserts that go in the paper packs and just use the back of them, because I'm not worried about the cards being photo safe, and then it's not wasteful. So that's why you see the back of that. Now, I'm going to take these cards that come in the Holly Jolly kit. So they're going to come blank like this. Basically, it's a kit that has a bunch of blank cards, a bunch of blank envelopes, and then all the embellishments and stuff. Well, I used a bunch of the embellishments in my scrapbooking this weekend, so I was left with a bunch of cards. So now I want to kind of make my own cards and use these up. So when you make this the size I told you to, 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, it's the perfect size. Let me get a different one. That was folded weird. To mount on top of this card, and then still have a little white space around. And then you have an awesome little card. I need to center that a little better than I did. Okay, and you have a card. So that's how you make that. Pretty easy. Love using up the squares, and that's another great way to use your scraps and to use your triangles that were left over from making streamers. Here's another version of the card where I did my own pattern and I stopped it right here. And then I just cut about a 1/4 inch strip of darker green paper, and then a 2 inch by 4 inch strip of this yellow paper. This was from the Magic Awaits collection, and then added some embellishments from the Holly Jolly kit. And I have a few more. This one is the same size squares and everything, and added embellishments from the Holly Jolly card kit. Same here, same size squares, embellishment from the Holly Jolly kit, and added a few little blings to it. And finally, now this one is 1 inch by 1 inch squares. They're smaller. Honestly, I like this size better. I think it looks better, but I thought I would just try it to see what it looked like, because I had a bunch of 1 by 1 squares left over from stuff. And it looks fine, you know, and I added this from the Holly Jolly kit. And I like this because it's like a shaker card. And basically, it's just a peel and stick thing. I don't want to peel it off now because it might tear things. But you just peel the back off and stick it down. And it's a shaker card. Pretty cute. Okay, so that is a way that if you've used up the embellishments for your cards, you can still use your cards and just use them with whatever paper and supplies you have. And just do a quilt pattern with squares. Great way to use up your scraps, and I love just mixing and matching colors. And I find that to really get a good hodgepodge of colors with like small patterns, because when you're making these kind of small things, I think it's better to use little small monochromatic type patterns, or maybe with a subtle little white dot, just subtle, as opposed to real big busy patterns, because if it gets busy and you're cutting out these little tiny pieces, then you can't really see what it is. So to do that, I had to go to a bunch of my different collections and mix and match papers the way I liked them. But that's how quilts are. I mean, they're hodgepodge of everything. So that's kind of the idea anyway. Hope you like those, and I hope you enjoy making some cards with your scraps. And maybe if you buy a card kit with your extra cards from the card kit. And I will say, if you don't have the card kit, you can always just cut cardstock to be the right size. And then we have, with this trimmer, we have a perforating blade. I'm sorry, a scoring blade. So you could just go down the middle of the card and score it, so you have a good fold. So you could just cut your card stock to about 7 1/4 inches by, I have the 0 centimeter, by 5 1/2 or so. And then, you know, you made your own cards, but you would have to get envelopes somewhere, because the envelopes do come with this. So anyway, those are just some ideas for making cards, and hope you like it. Have a great day. Bye.